if you are trying to do two things at once, like listen to this podcast and drive and cook, work out, lift up, move something heavy, I would just focus on one, or just listen to this when you have a second, because, this is Heroes of Humility, by the way, because this is going to be, it's fascinating. It's 40 some minutes. It's an exciting 40 some minutes. 11, Charlie, and Red kind of get into a testosterone discussion. I'm not sure how that happened. I just hit record. And then we elaborate or impart to people that might not have been there what it was like to grow up in the 80s and 90s. Some of the things that we survived, it's a miracle I'm sitting here talking into this mic. TGIF, we're trying to come out with a show every other Friday. That's kind of a promise. Let's not get crazy about making sure that we fulfill our promises. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a stressful thing, but it's commercial free. We hope we make some people laugh. Enjoy. Hope everybody's well.
Heroes of
Humility, 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 humility. This is not a charade. This is real. These words you are about to hear are coming from real humans on a mission to save the human race from itself. Buckle up while these delusional heroes of humility, aka hoes, attempt to right the wrongs in everyday human behavior. You guys are talking about testosterone and getting shots for it. I went ahead and hit the recording, so maybe we'll get welcome back to Heroes of Humility. Thanks for being here. Red and 11 were discussing their ego powers and maybe the lack thereof, but it's nothing to be ashamed of, guys. I mean, I think that you can obviously benefit from going to a doctor and getting your testosterone levels checked out. That's a quick PSA.
There is a stigma.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Everyone thinks that, I'm not as manly. It's not true. Like,
right.
My levels are so low because of head injuries. And when I got blown up in Iraq, it destroyed my pituitary gland. And I was told by my doctor, any head injury, like if you get hit in the head, it affects your pituitary gland.
Wow.
This depends on how much.
The ironic part is there's nothing more manly than being blown up too. I mean, So dude,
my low testosterone is more manly.
Yeah. So exactly.
But getting on that shot, like I was saying to you, Red, it changed my life. He said at the levels of like an 80-year-old man, and I felt like it. I didn't know what to do. I was like 30 years old, almost in tears. Like,
that's rough to hear.
I cannot even live my life anymore. And after that, I felt like I'm 20 years old. Felt amazing.
Wow.
Been going ever since. So.
Yeah, that's a good thing to get checked out if you think, even if you think you might be. I guess I was telling you guys, there's other reasons why you might feel tired or not have the energy. I mean, you could be deficient in B or something, maybe your metabolism, maybe you're not getting enough oxygen, maybe you're not sleeping well. But I think if your testosterone level's low, that's an easy check, right? You were saying, 11, that it can depend on the type of doctor you go see.
Yeah, depending on if they're going to do anything or not.
Okay.
You want to go to a specialist. And there's so many of them out there now. And I don't want to say it's a new thing, but because my doctor, he's been doing it 30 years, been published all over the place, really well known. But you go to your family practice, they don't specialize in that. So who knows if they're going to be comfortable giving you some more testosterone. They don't know if they're going to spike your levels, and because there's also a risk of your red blood cell count going up. And so they have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, because when you do, don't you have to? You have to do monthly blood tests? Or
no, it's like every 6 months. But if you run a little high on your red blood cells, you do it every 3 months.
Oh yes,
you could just go give blood anywhere. Like, it's not a big deal.
And you guys were saying that just as a function of age, you start to produce less testosterone. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's the little research that I have seen. That's traditional.
After about 30 years old,
it starts dropping, right?
Yeah, it starts to go down. Depends on how much.
And with
everyone's different.
Yeah, you do help us out though with the coconut oil stories and vitamin D, which I have been lacking.
Yeah, I try to tell. I mean, I really think there is something to knowing what you're eating. And, obviously trying to eat the right thing. That's not the quantity. It's not like trying to get, you need to get more protein just because as you age, you develop less muscle or synthesize less protein. It's just about getting the quality of protein. I think that's usually the more important thing. And there's just too many ways to eat bad food. Speaking of food, and this is
I love bad food.
I know. You disgust me. You know, I was in the store. So we're talking this week about kids and the way that you may have grown up versus the way you see kids growing up now. And I was in the store. You know, I don't go in and buy like I go to Costco. This is no secret anymore. And that's where I get everything that's going to last me a while. But when I go to like Sprouts or whatever, that's because I'm out of coconut milk. So I've got like 5 or 10 things to get. I was walking through and I saw in the area where they keep the yogurt, this guy got down to his kid, and his kid looked like the boss of this job the guy had to please him and get whatever he wanted. And he was asking him what kind of yogurt he wanted and how, do you like this one or that one? I don't know about you guys. I do not remember having that experience when I was a kid. I was told, here's what you're eating, and if you don't like it, go to your room.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was it, dude. And I see these kids catered to in such a fancy way. So I'm going through, I bought my stuff, and I was leaving, and I bought like 5 or 10 things, and he was still having this discussion with the kid. And I think how many moments of the day are just catering to little Timmy as Timmy bosses his parents around and says, I want this or that. And then when he doesn't get it, he just turns on the waterworks and he's like the king of the castle, man. It's like he's like the Lord, and they're just a bunch of surf bitches doing whatever he wants. And it's like, it's kind of sickening to watch, dude. It is. And I know that we usually try to cover an embarrassing topic off the beginning. I don't know if you guys did your homework, but I have one. You probably did, as per usual. Look, this is how it works, guys. We don't have anything scripted. Clearly, we're talking top of our heads, but we do have certain topics. And I always tell these guys, so the beginning of the show, we discuss something embarrassing, something and then I, do my due diligence. I look on here.
But we don't.
And yeah, so that's all right.
Very regimented.
Look. So I go to a smaller gym. I try not to go to a big gym. I just don't like it.
Because you don't like people.
Well,
I'm going to say this every show.
I like people, man. There's certain aspects of even myself I'm not crazy about. I don't really want to be around those same aspects of somebody else. So I'm listening to my stuff, and I look down, and I had set my phone. It was a little gym on an area because I didn't have pockets on my shorts. Oh. And by the way, you shouldn't keep your phone in your pocket all the time because it actually can be bad for you. I saw a study where whatever the phone emits.
I've been snipped, so it don't matter to me.
Well, if you've been snipped, don't worry about it. But I'd still worry.
He's got 5 phones in his pocket.
Look it up, research it. Yeah, for work we have 2 phones. I actually have 3 phones, dude.
Drug dealer.
Yeah, so
that's his job.
Don't ask.
Gotta make those deals on the coconut oil.
Don't ask too many questions.
That phone is very slippery.
What was I talking about? Well, the thing is on my phone. I had my phone up. My groove comes on, and I was doing leg days, and I hear this. I listen to music that you wouldn't necessarily tell people about. All right, especially in the gym, and I realized it because the picture had come up.
Barry Manilow is good workout music, right?
Let's not get crazy, but it wasn't like Guns N' Roses or something. It was, like I said, but I'm going to share the picture of what came up on my phone while I was working out, and it came up because I had Pandora on, and it played it, and you could see it on my phone. And there I was doing legs, and so I couldn't react to what had come up. And this was the picture on my phone, right?
Holy shit, dude. But I could see it, though. Like, you could see you with your short
What's so funny, dude?
Short shorts. And
see?
It looks like you.
All right. For those that can't see, because on a podcast you can't see, I'll post this. I actually did already post something.
When we start recording next time, I bet you're going to have a fan in here blowing your hair so you look just like that.
This is a picture
very golden,
of
sparkly.
The Bee Gees radio station. And look, there's no secret by this point. This is episode 22 that I have an affinity for 80s, maybe even a touch of 70s stuff and music. Yeah, this popped up, Too Much Heaven by the Bee Gees. And it's heavenly. It's a good groove. It's melodic. The guys harmonize. I mean, it's like It's up there with Boys to Men. And they were kicking it back in the late 70s, 80s. I mean, they brought it, dude. And when you listen to that, you're brought to new, stratosphere of success,
there's
abilities.
A stratosphere, all right.
So I was listening to this, and I just realized, well, gosh, that might not help my cred in the gym. So I hurried through my set, and then I just kind of set my phone down because there's going to be other stuff that's going to pop up. And those are just some of the things. It was kind of embarrassing. There was somebody that walked by, and they saw it, and they saw my phone, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's the Bee Gees. I'm listening to this. It's I really think everybody could appreciate that.
They have a really strong melody. Their harmonies are on point.
Ouch. Wow. What a dick, dude. That's what I get for opening up. I like to
work out some good harmonies.
That's what you get for opening up among the heroes of humility.
You're supposed to be getting the blood flowing, like movement and some sweat going.
Have you ever listened to something and thought, I just will keep this one to myself? You know that scene in Tommy Boy where they're driving and that music comes on and they're in the car together and they both know the words? It's like, dude, there are certain songs that I'm sorry, I like it. I'm not going to turn the radio. And you know what? I'm not going to be
What we're saying is that's not workout music.
Okay, touche. But it was part of my playlist and it came up and, I don't know. Sometimes you can be calm. You don't have to be shot out of a cannon in the gym to do what you got to do. You can still listen to the Bee Gees, Heavenly. Anyway, that was my embarrassing moment. I've definitely had some moments like that. I think there was another time where, I don't know if you've ever done this and you've heard a song and you're like, damn, I want to see what that song was like when it was performed live. I want to see who was performing it. And I went on and I was listening to this and I realized, wow, that's not something I want somebody to look at while I'm watching. Somebody walked by and I was watching a live performance by Tiffany of what's that song that she did? It was in the 80s. I think We're Alone Now or something like that. I had a crush on her when I was a kid.
This was still at the gym?
It was still at the gym, dude.
Holy crap, dude.
At least, hopefully it's not this. I mean, it wasn't the same person, but it's a small gym. But
was it in the locker room?
No, dude. I don't use my phone in the locker room. That's a taboo. Yeah, you do not want to see anybody's phone out in the locker room. You had that
on your Bluetooth speaker playing while you were in the showers. You're going to have trouble.
I had trouble because somebody walked by and saw me watching a live performance of Tiffany on the thing, and I was like, well, yeah, that's not good, man. You should avoid that stuff. Those are just little things, little, hints to try to avoid to help your street cred. And I don't know. That's what I do. See, I come prepared.
Motivation.
Dude. I come prepared. This was a topic I had prepared, and I thought, well, and I share it. It's not good for me. It doesn't help my, status, but I try to do it for the show. I give it up. I do this, in support of what we're doing here. So I can see how hard Red is trying to think of one of his embarrassing moments, and he didn't know
about embarrassing or music. I mean, I guess
no pressure.
I think most people have certain music they like, but I don't have such an eclectic, probably collection.
Yeah, all your stuff
music. I mean, it's not just one type, but one genre of music, but they're different times for different music. If that makes sense.
Oh, my music list is so
all over
the place.
Yeah, eccentric.
I grew up playing guitar with my uncle. He was like, well, you're going to start with the blues, like where music came from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I that's the first music I was really introduced to, and then like all through the classic rock stuff. And,
I picture a young 11 with like glasses on, dark glasses, listening to jazz or
I used to have
blues
long hair,
music.
Dude.
Yeah,
it's hard to picture.
I used to have long hair down to almost my shoulder.
Wow.
I was a surfer boy. I grew up.
That's
surfing.
right. You said you were in California a long time, surfing it up, listening to the blues. Very profound thinker, dude. Weird, right from the very beginning, dude.
Now, do you ever picture yourself, and this would go very well for Mr. Pierce, is going to a concert and imagining what those hardcore people look like, fans of that.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when you listen to Taylor Swift, and can you imagine yourself in your 40s going as a single man to a Taylor Swift concert?
Nah.
What the other people would be reaction to you wearing your Taylor Swiftie shirt, really getting into the moment.
I know some guy that brought his kids.
I went to an AC/DC concert when I was 15 or something.
Yeah.
96. It was great.
Did you see some craziness?
Yeah. I went there and it was nothing but just old people.
Really?
Like people my age probably.
Yeah.
But like dork, I don't know, man.
At the time, they looked really old to you.
It was, you're not only old, like these are some dorky, like
dorky old guys,
man.
weird guys.
For AC/DC, wow, that's
dude,
like
I thought it was going to be raging, and it was not.
Interesting.
Because they didn't have alcohol there or nothing, but everybody was
Wow.
smoking weed. And like the whole place, we were at the Great Western Forum in LA, and I'd been there a million times because I used to go, my uncle worked for the Kings hockey team, and I used to go to all the Kings games. Huge hockey fan. So we went there, and I felt comfortable going there with my uncle and all that. But I mean, I got so high being there.
Just being there.
Just being there.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And
that
I'd fallen asleep halfway through the show.
It happened to me at a Black Crowes concert. I was there, and I was also a little pissed because they didn't do "She Talks to Angels," which is the song that I was psyched for them
It's
to
like
do.
their best one.
Yeah. There was somebody had thrown something up on stage, and Chris, the lead singer, he's like, "All right, we're going home," and he was pissed. So they took a break. Luckily, they came back out, but I went to use the restroom, and there was a girl in there using the urinal. There was a lot of weird stuff I saw at the Black Crowes concert, man.
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
That same uncle, this guy was wild, dude.
The blues guy, the guy.
Yes,
okay.
a wild guy. He had a band like one of them hair metal.
It's always the uncle,
hair
you know?
bands, you know. Play the Hollywood Strip all the time. So when I'm like 14 years old, and he come pick me up because my dad wasn't around, you know, for a while. So he'd pick me up and take me down the Hollywood Strip, man. I'd be in all those clubs down there, the Troubadour, the Roxy, all those while they're playing, and they just walk me in the back door. And I'm there with movie stars and everyone. They're doing cocaine off the damn sinks and stuff. It was pandemonium. I'm just like
taking it all in.
Yeah, and he's up there playing, you know. So it's just me. So I'm just walking around, kind of doing whatever. I was like, I have stories for days about that.
You are so damn worldly, dude.
It was insane, man.
So damn worldly.
He's the guy that made me so like.
Yeah.
The confidence to be so crazy.
Yeah, I could see
you know,
that.
It was him. It really was.
No, dude. I mean, most of us grew up probably, you know, in our teenage years or later teenage years in the '90s, and some of the music that was around then, like Nirvana and you know, more of the rock, grungy. Too. There's a place that used to be here and that was called Boston's. I was a younger person, under 21. We go there, and I was like, damn, that's a badass band. And we go in there, and there's people just like grown men, like way older than me, good sized guys in a mosh pit, just going to town on each other.
I used to do those mosh pits.
and I was just like, I like this music, but I have no interest in getting
cauliflower ear.
Because you know, it's what it is just straight up, we're ramping it up. I'm gonna run into this guy. No, this guy's gonna run into me harder.
And you always got that guy just cheap shot punching people in the face.
Yeah, and there's
and then
you're
I
like,
get hit and I see red, and then.
Yeah, you don't know what your reaction will be, right?
Oh, I know what it'll be. It's gonna be. I'm gonna fight you and all your friends.
It really lacks a lot. There's a lot of an absence of logic in the whole scenario.
But it makes you wonder, like, damn, I like this music. Should I be acting that way, or am I not as like a heart of a fan if I don't participate in the mosh pit?
A little peer pressure.
You know, like you don't feel like
that's how they all act. They're like, oh, if you didn't mosh, I was there moshing. Like they act like you're not a true fan if you're not in the pit.
And I remember seeing the people on the edge of the mosh pit, and they're all being looked down upon.
Yeah,
like, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, and no offense, because I could see you doing this and kicking ass, but yeah, that's
I never really liked.
Yeah, it's not something.
I dated this
it?
girl.
Who would like it?
She was about 5'10".
Okay.
And you would never think, but she would go get in the mosh pit and she would just start laying people out. Wow. I'm like, what the?
Wow.
Who are you?
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. And then, you know, I see someone hit her and then I'm like, am I supposed to do something about this?
Yeah.
Do I just kind of like and then I think one time I was like, oh, wait. He's like, whatever, man. She's in the pit. And I was like, okay, man.
Well, how do you argue with that?
Yeah. It's true.
It was a consensual face punch.
So like the next time, I was like, are you sure you want to go in there? And she's like, yeah, fuck it. And then goes, I'm like, this chick is crazy, bro.
Now at the Bee Gees, do they have pretty rockin' mosh pits?
Look, if there's any scenario that could break loose where my moneymaker gets impacted or affected,
oh yeah,
I'm not interested in having. I know,
I love it.
sometimes we have to get hit in the face for whatever, but I don't look for those opportunities. I'm not out there advocating for somebody and putting myself, no, it's just, come on. I mean, you only have one face. You only have one ear. You know the cauliflower ear that people wear like a badge of pride with? No.
We're the ear guards.
Yeah, we're the ear guards. And then I told a guy I know, he's a buddy of mine, and he's like, oh, you just have it drained. I'm sorry, what?
No.
Oh, you just have your ear drained. It's no big deal. I was like, okay, so you let somebody pound you in your ear without wearing a guard, and then you have to go drain the blood out. Who's doing that? Is that a doctor? No, that's just my friend or
in
my
the
wife
garage
or the janitor, or whatever, whoever it is that is near his office. Dude, do you hear how ridiculous you sound?
Probably not.
Just
ear holes closed up.
He probably couldn't hear me.
All the scar tissue.
Just when I didn't think he could get any dumber, he goes and totally redeems himself with beauty and draining his own blood out of his ear. And then he comes in and he says to me, "Yeah, see." And I'm like, it looks great, dude.
No,
you look great. Some people don't have perfect, bodies, and that's fine. But when you purposely jack your
it's like the ear gauges thing, right? You just have to go full on, like, commit there, because when you put those gauges in your ears and you stretch your earlobes out, you at one point you have to just say, I'm really committed to this look.
Yeah.
Well, there's no
you
going
gotta
back.
want it. Yeah.
There's no going back.
Yeah, you're married to that look, dude. It's over. When I was a kid and when I said goodbye in the morning to my mom and dad, we looked at each other knowing this may be the last time that we see each other. All right. He may not come back, and we accept that. And you see these kids that are just they're being catered to way, way too much. In the neighborhood I grew in,
This kid is a pain in the ass. I hope he doesn't come.
I mean, I'm sure they would have missed me. I brought a lot to the household,
Oh, I'm sure you brought a lot.
But they
did they want that?
No, yeah, that brought them joy and excitement, danger. But I remember leaving and thinking, yeah, I love you, Mom. It's been good. And I got on my bike.
We had a good run.
Yeah, we had a good thing going. But I got to go out there, and if I don't make it back, hey. That's just the price of being a kid in my neighborhood.
Finger painting can be dangerous.
We had, the chiseled, careful, prudent person you see before you is not how I raised, but you have to go through that, right?
No, so I see you as a regimented, very, meticulous by the book type of young person.
I was, but I was an adventurer. Because of my athletic desires, I did throw my body, and my buddies, we all did some dangerous stuff.
You threw your body at your buddies. I got that.
Let's not go.
I can see that.
Let's not, I'm just going to breeze past that. But see, the thing is that,
he's a ramrod.
So while Levin was partying it up with celebrities in clubs in the middle of LA, I was riding my bike with my buddies out in just like the boondocks. I mean, we grew up in a pretty big neighborhood, but my parents, I would ride like miles from my house on my bike with my buddies. And there was a riverbed with like a cliff on either side, and it went behind these people's homes. So there was homes on one side, and on the other side, there was just a ton of really thick brush, thorns and stuff. So you couldn't climb into it there was one access point. There was one egress, way in and way out. And so when we went in there, we did it because it was exciting. We were going to be going
into the jungle
behind these people's yard, and one of these guys was a lunatic. He had Doberman pinchers, and he had what we thought was a gun. It might have been a pellet gun, but it didn't matter to me. It was a real gun. And we go back there, and we would do this every weekend to see who made it out alive. And we would, so down in this riverbed, we would ride our bikes down in there, and if somebody didn't make it, you definitely tried to help them, but it was understood. It was like, dude, we're running. If you don't make it, man,
we're scattering.
Yeah, this is your serpentine, right? You're also moving in every weird direction to get out of there. So we would get to the end of this. There was a huge gully at the end, and you had to turn around. But the idea was to go down into this death-defying riverbed and then make it out without getting shot or without getting bit. And the dogs, he would, and this guy was angry. He would sick his dogs on us every time, and then we would hear the shot, like he was actually shooting at us, dude. So, and the guy was just a lunatic. So we would start running back. We'd have to leave our bikes in one location. And one time, dude, I was the guy who was the victim. I almost didn't make it out. What I did is I had to cut up into the brush, leave my bike, and try to lose the dogs by running through the thorns and the bushes. And I got so cut up, but I remember the dog was like, he was getting closer and closer to me. And that, if you've ever heard a dog breathing with just the sound that he wants to commit homicide, that's what it was, dude. It was homicidal rage. And he's like, and I'm like, but it's an adrenaline rush.
Nightmare
dude.
Just happened last night.
It's an adrenaline rush, and that's what I saw.
Did you grab your friend's little sister as a barrier between you and the dog?
I just remember my
Your
speed.
sacrifice will never be forgotten.
My speed developed too. When I was a kid, I became faster, but this was good practice, you know. And I just ran through the bushes, and then the dog almost got me, and then I heard. And so I heard his teeth, dude. He was trying to bite, and I was like, and then all of a sudden, I started doing serpentine.
That's
Serpentine.
The crazy part is I could see this.
Serpentine, for those that don't know, is just, it's weaving in and out of these bushes, running back and forth.
S pattern.
Yeah, an S pattern basically. I'm running an S pattern through the bushes, and all of a sudden, I heard the dog go. And I look back, and he got it nice with a cactus, dude. He got into the cactus.
Like, ha, bitch.
I turned around and I was like, that's right, you punk bitch. That's what you get. How dare you try to take a chunk out of Pierce? And then I got far away and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he was like, all right, but next time. And I was like, oh yeah, you son of a bitch, I'll be back next weekend. But dude, my parents had no idea any of this happened. In fact, when my mom hears this, she's going to be freaking out.
Yeah, you probably get the switch for going back down to the gully.
I was a terror like that too, man.
drinking out of it.
Oh my God. I was so bad.
It's a surprise.
Not because I'm like a bad. So here's the thing. My father is from Scotland. He's like one of 10. They're all Scotland. And they grew up in this poor little village, all drinkers and fighters. That's all you do there. And so I grew up with these guys. That's all I ever saw. And they're all wild. So us as kids, we were all wild. We all just did crazy stuff. We were all like adrenaline junkie type. My grandfather had me boxing since 3 years old till 13, and he got Alzheimer's. But it was a wild childhood growing up where I could just go do whatever I want. I used to jump on a train to get to school. But I could only get on it while it was moving.
With all the other hobos?
No, I wouldn't get inside.
Okay.
It was like a cargo.
Oh, that's safer.
So I would run and grab the ladder and I'd go sit up on top of it, and it'd go by all the intersections, people are sitting there waiting for the train to pass, and I'd just be sitting up there like, hey. Wow. But then when I went by the school, it'd be picking up speed, and the only way to get off is to jump, man. Wow. And they're not stopping for you. So
damn, dude, that's a good one, man. Oh,
yeah, so we used to jump. We learned how to tuck and roll pretty quick.
Tuck and roll. What if you hit a rock, dude? You tuck and roll right on top of a boulder or a little rock.
That was a risk we were willing to take.
Wow.
Man.
Did your buddies ever do that thing where you put a coin on the railroad track?
Oh, yeah. We used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
It works.
We used to put everything.
I did that as well. Like, you put a penny on it, and you're like, I can't do that. It gets smashed, and you're just amazed. Yet that's where you go to play.
It would shoot them. Like, you wouldn't be able to find them sometimes.
We used to throw rocks at each other, man. There was a and if you caught a rock that was thrown at you, you were like the winner. You got like you had some serious street cred. I remember getting hit by some rocks, and if you got cut, if you got hurt, it wasn't like the kids now that get a full emergency response. You got in with like a SpongeBob Band-Aid. You know what my Band-Aid was? It was the dirt and it was the gravel that had just kind of collected on my knees from running from the dog, and that coagulated with my blood, so that then the blood stopped. It was just basically a caveman Band-Aid.
No, well, you looked at it. I think in my childhood, I remember BMX riding was kind of my thing, and you always end up taking a spill. And when you got injured, in your little mind, you thought, if I go home, my mom's going to make me stay there. You're going to not be able to go out and have fun with your buddies, right? So just suck it up and have fun, because it'll get taken care of when you get back home when the lights,
I'm
the street
still
light
like
turns
that,
on.
and it's awful. Like, I do not
take care of your wounds.
I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
But now my wife, she's a nurse practitioner, so if she sees something.
I remember, I'm sure this has been covered quite a bit, but the thought of, whatever lead and whatever else was in the water out of the hose in the front yard that I drank out of habitually every day, it was way too much trouble and time to tell my buddies to wait while I ran into the house to put my water inside of a fancy glass and drink it.
Make sure
like
it's filtered properly.
Yeah, I just went ahead and took the water out of the hose. And there was something about that rubber hose summer taste that really satiated my thirst.
No, yeah, you're right. And now when you have a kid, because I definitely think about that, where, I think we grew up in a generation where you didn't want to be inside your house because that was a form of getting caught, getting in trouble, doing something, being rambunctious in your house. And you woke up and you left. You were at your buddy's house all day. And you didn't come home, and you think back to it like, how did I eat? Where did I eat? I don't remember that.
How did I survive?
Yeah, how did I survive? How did I have the nutrients to keep going? But you have a kid now, and you're like, just stay on the street, take your cell phone with you. And you're like, wait, he's only 10, he's got a cell phone? We didn't have that, think about it. You just memorized your home phone and something really bad happened.
Yeah,
hopefully somebody borrowed
You had to memorize your home phone. I still remember mine.
Yeah.
I still remember my childhood home phone number.
That's crazy.
It is seared in my brain.
Yeah.
And then when the street lights came on, boom, you had to be home.
Isn't that crazy?
And if you weren't there, you'd hear your name being yelled from a mile away.
And
running.
I've talked about that with buddies at work before. Like, why are we so different now with our kids to let them go out and explore? Because my wife and I have talked about that with the newer generation, and it's now you got to push the kid out of the house. Like, hey, it's nice outside. You need to go take a ride. And they look at you like, oh, I'm playing Roblox on my phone. And no, it's going to be dark. Get out there and go discover something.
Yeah.
The kids nowadays seem to be more reluctant. I guess maybe because there's fancier stuff that keeps their attention at home, where with us, it was like, get out of the house and I don't come back.
Yeah, we didn't have any interaction with friends at home, even though there were like Nintendo and all, Sega Genesis, but it's not like you were playing your buddies at their home.
Virtually, yeah.
Yeah.
I had some just before me just before my generation, there was even harder kids, even more dangerous. My cousins that were older than me, they told me they used to shoot at each other with BB guns.
Oh, we used to do
I've done that, yeah.
We used to have BB gun wars.
That's some crazy.
We used to get these pistols, right? And it was like a one pump thing. You put one pellet in there and you can really go at it. We kind of knew how far you had to be before you was really like digging into your skin, and like you'd have to get a knife to like pop it out. We kind of respected that. Everybody respected that. And there was like 10 of us that would do it. And then my buddy he got all mad at his brother. And there was these two brothers that used to do the BB gun wars all the time. They had their carpet changed out. So he went and made a carpet armor suit.
Oh, wow.
And he brought out his rifle, dude, where he could like pump it up 10 times. And that thing will destroy you.
Did everybody just go home? Or?
Dude, he came out with that, and everyone tried to shoot him. We just see pellets like bouncing off, and we all just went, no. I mean, everyone turned around and ran, and he's just out there just boom, nailing people. It was awful.
I don't know if you remember when we were little kids. I grew up not too far from the Circle K, and next to the Circle K was this car wash, and they used to sell little slingshots, and it was cool because you'd save up your quarters or whatever, and you're like, dude, I got a slingshot. Check this out. And back when they actually had drinks that were in glass bottles, you could shoot them with little rocks, and you got the glass breaking, whatever. Well, one summer I was a latchkey kid. This car wash had these enormous fluorescent lights on the top, and it was like, you remember what it was like and the sounds those things make when you hit them. It was like, I got this nice Circle K plastic cheapo slingshot, pow pow, and I did it over the fence, and people at the car wash heard it. That was one thing. If you're a latchkey kid, you grew up, you never want the cops coming home because your parents will swat you so bad because they have to instill this fear that you're not really supposed to be going outside because you'll attract attention and you don't want friends coming over. It was like, stay home, watch some TV, maybe play in the backyard a little bit, but that's the extent of your trip outside the house. Well, first off, I was outside my house going to Circle K to get my slingshot. Second off, I started destroying these fluorescent light bulbs while people were at the car wash, witnesses. And so what do? I run back home. Well, they all see me run back home, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. There's like, I don't know if it was the manager at the car wash or whatnot, was banging on the front door of my house. And you sure as hell don't answer the door. Mm-mm. Oh my God, I was sweating it. I somehow thank the Lord, or whatever you want to say. He never came back when he saw my parents' car was there. So I never got in trouble for it.
You lucked out.
But damn, you talk about like doing stupid stuff.
This is funny, man. My cousin, who was a year older than me, he used to do really dumb stuff. Love him to death. We grew up like brothers, because I was an only child. There were these businesses by his house, and they had all the dumpsters in the back, right? It was kind of like a strip mall, like a outdoor or whatever. But we go by one of them, and there's these huge sheets of plastic, like kind of like see-through. I'm talking 6x6. And so at the time, he was really into like pyro stuff, like lighting stuff on. So he pulled one of these sheets out and he lit it on fire, and the thing just starts going.
Oh, crap.
And I think there may have been multiple, but someone came out right when he did it, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh shit." And so he starts stomping on these sheets of plastic, but they stick to his feet.
Oh, damn.
And I'm standing there like, I don't know what to do, man. And he takes off running with like 3-foot pieces of plastic on fire, stuck to his feet, and he's just taking off running.
Wow.
I'm like, Graham, what are you doing, man? I was like, you're done. Like, you're gonna die right now. But we ended up making it, but he melted the bottom of his shoes.
Wow. Did he make it out of adolescence?
Yeah.
Really?
No, he's very successful. Computer programmer guy. He's done all sorts of stuff for Google and all of them. Yeah.
Man, he's one of those guys that walks up to you on your computer and says, "Move. I can fix this."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Real smart guy and everything. But, man, when we were kids, him and I, we've done some stuff.
It's amazing that you do survive a lot of those things if you think about it, because it could have gone easily, like I said, a different direction. I remember racing guys in school around these mountains that in the area that I grew up in, and you couldn't see if there was any oncoming traffic. But I remember when we got to those areas, that was always the way I'd win, because at least my other buddies had the wherewithal to know not to do that. But I wanted it bad. I wanted it so bad. Yeah, I want to win, and that's what I would do. And man, I think back, and that was dumb, man. Very dumb.
No, there's a couple times where my kid will do something. He's a boy. My wife looks at me because she grew up with a sister and a mom, and she didn't have any brothers. So she kind of looks at me like, "What the hell is he doing?" It's all right. You're lucky.
That's nothing.
You're lucky at this point.
That's one thing I appreciate about my wife. She grew up outdoors doing crazy stuff. So when we have collectively 4 kids, when one of them does something crazy, we kind of look at each other and be like,
There was this bush right next to our house. We were on the West Coast, and this brush had like these red-looking berries on them. And I, for some reason, just thought, yeah, that's cool. I need to eat those and see if anything bad happens to me. And I I would eat a ton of these things. And I did this for I don't know, I want to say a year or two.
You put foreign objects, foreign berries.
It's amazing who body. I am now, because, at that time, dude, it didn't occur to me. I need to eat those. I have to see what's going to happen.
Luscious berries.
And they didn't even taste good. But I was like, no, I've got it. This is an experiment to see what happens. And my parents never knew that. I used to take the rubber around the seal on the screen door at night. And after everybody would go to bed, it was really late, I would take that screen off. My dog was my buddy. His name was Tippy. I would put him outside the window. Then I would go out the window, and we would just run around in the front yard. And you think now, if your kid was doing that, you have a son. Can you imagine if he was doing that at midnight, how you would react to that?
Yeah, you'd be pissed. But then you, as a parent, you're like, damn, I would have done something that's stupid. But as you're now an adult, you're like, it pisses you off because you're like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking, man, you could have messed up the window.
Yeah.
You could have cut yourself or something like that. And now when you have to hear about it from the wife, like, why is he doing this stuff?
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to explain. It's like all this other stuff, right?
I used to skateboard and like sneak up to the back of cars and hold on to them just to get going, because I didn't want to sit there. You know, I'd have 3 miles to go.
Was that before or after Back to the Future? Did you see that?
You were thinking the same thing. No, that was a big thing back then, because I remember that
movie.
movie.
We used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then I had this huge wasp nest in my backyard. I'll never forget it. And so
Nice.
my mom wouldn't get home. It was just her and I till 8 o'clock at night. I'm laying there thinking about what to do. So I'd lay there with my BB gun rifle at the back door and I'd shoot wasps out of the air. And then I started shooting the nest, but I couldn't get to it unless I got like right by it.
Brilliant.
So I'd shoot it and then I'd run to the back door of the house, and with the wasps like swarming around me. But if I moved fast enough, they wouldn't get me. But every once in a while they would.
Yeah, it's a nice adrenaline rush.
It took about 6 months, and that nest was gone.
Yeah, you didn't have to call somebody to pay them like you would nowadays. You just shoot every wasp out of the air with your BB gun, dude.
Yep.
That's good stuff. I really appreciate that you guys survived, because otherwise we wouldn't be here doing our podcast.
No, you think about the stuff that you did. Like, I know one of the things, I grew up in a smaller neighborhood, urban city, and we didn't have a swimming pool. In the summers, it gets awfully hot, right? And you're like, dang, man, I wish none of my friends had a swimming pool. I want to go swimming. It's freaking hot as heck out. Well, there was a condo complex that had a pool, but none of our friends lived in it. Hell, let's go jump the fence and we'll go swimming. It kind of felt like one of those moments. There's that one movie, not the Little Rascals, that baseball movie where the kids go to the public pool and
Sandlot.
Yeah, the Sandlot, exactly. Where it felt like that. Yeah, it was exactly like that. Because you had all these kids from the neighborhood jumping the pool fence and going swimming, and it was just danger of like being caught, like not living there. If someone. But nobody ever caught us because they were condos. There was no referee or something of the pool. It was like you were on your own. Yeah. But it was the danger of like, let's go jump the fence and we're going to go swimming all day. It was just one of those cool summer adventures that you look back on.
It's interesting to think of at what point you go from that mentality of just reckless abandon to then, as you gradually start to realize this could cause issues for my parents, for me, or whatever. I don't know. At what point you become more of an adult or you actually lose.
If you're me, you don't. You just join the army and then stick with that sort of work for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's another way to go. There's a lot of moments where I realize, looking back on that, now it's not something I would have done, but I do miss those adrenaline rushes. That it's that excitement. It makes you feel alive, and I do see why some people do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's addicting.
It is. Wears off a little bit. What doesn't wear off is the magic that I have with you guys. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, dude, I appreciate it. It's like a Hallmark moment.
Yeah, it's going to really be bittersweet when we finish this one because we won't be recording again for another week. It's important, probably. I guess it helps us. We don't like commercials, so we do this with our own funds, and hopefully we just bring people some laughs. Check us out on Facebook. 11 has some skills in that area, and we may actually put some video up on the YouTube channel we've got right now. It's just going to be audio, but we might start throwing some videos or actually record our sessions. So anyway, thanks for tuning in and listening to us. With that being said, you guys take care and be kind.
Got it.
Adios.
Bye.